Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. This is an educational channel and we generally go over uh, different writings from people who have put out theories of everything. In the past we went over a lot of work on the tree of ancient Egyptian tree of life, and we've also gone over a comparable amount of material from Mr. Dewey B. Larson and his reciprocal system of theory. These are both pretty obscure theories of everything that you probably would have never heard of had you not come on this channel. I'm sure there are exceptions. They've both been out there for many, many years, but very few people delve into this. But I think that they are worth your time, and they will reward you in spades if you pay some attention and get into it a little bit. Now, Mr. Larson first had an inkling about his theories way back in about 1930. It took him a couple decades, 2+ decades, to work his theories out to the point where he put out his 2 fundamental postulates. Then once he did that, he began to use those postulates as the instrument to start writing books. And he wrote some books on chemistry and physics and astronomy and other scientific subjects, as well as economics and some stuff even on metaphysics, including philosophy, religion, and psychology. And his followers have also didn't have a huge following, but he did have a few followers and a few really good people that were following him, in my opinion. And after Larson's death in 1990, the theory didn't fall flat. There were some people to keep going, and one of them was Dr. Bruce Perret. We're going to be looking at his work today, and we have been looking at his work for about the last month. Now, Mr. Larson's theory is basically that we live in a universe made entirely out of motion. The substance of the universe is motion, and motion is the relationship between space and time. This sets up a generalized reciprocal relationship between space and time. Space and time basically are the components of a fraction, which is motion. So we generally regard speed as being space over time. The car is moving 15 miles per hour. 15 miles of space and 1 hour of time. That is space over time. Now, but that's just speed. There are all of your basic scientific quantities are kinds of motion in Larson's formulation. And so not just speed, not just acceleration, but also energy and matter and pressure and electric charge and electric current and electrical capacitance and viscosity and fluidity and impulse, permeability and permittivity and force. These are all motions, and they all are expressible exclusively in terms of time or space. with time or space as the numerator and space or time as the denominator. But space or time can come in multiple dimensions. So for example, with matter, Larson says that matter is time to the third power over space to the third power. And in his fundamental postulates, he does say that there is coordinate space and coordinate time, basically meaning 3 or more dimensions of space and 3 or more dimensions of time. We're accustomed to the 3 dimensions of space. That's nothing new, but 3 dimensions of time, something that will rankle your physics professor to no end if you propose that to them. So too, Larson also says in his fundamental postulates that time and space both have their clock aspects. This is a scalar motion, a motion that has a magnitude but has no direction, like a clock. So time is always getting later and later and later according to the clock. It's flowing or progressing, but in no particular direction. And we're used to that concept, but the concept of clock space is something that we're not so used to, although it has been observed. Clock space is the idea that space is always getting farther and farther and farther apart, but in no particular direction. You would be able to envision this by using a balloon and a magic marker, putting some dots on the balloon. If you blow up the balloon, all the dots are moving away from each other. This is an outward scalar motion. The only direction that scalar motion has is outward or inward. And this was also observed by the Hubble telescope, observing that all of the distant galaxies are moving away from each other. That is the progression or the flow of space. So clock time, clock space, coordinate time. And then there's also what Larson calls the discrete unit postulate. That means that space and time are not continuous, they are discrete. There is a minimum unit of time and a minimum unit of space. If you don't have a full unit of space, then you don't have space. And if you don't have a full unit of time, then you don't have time. And if you don't have space or time, then you only have time or space. Everything in the universe is made out of space or time. And so if it's not made out of time, then it's made out of space. So within 1 unit of space, you just have time. Larson calls that the time region. And within 1 unit of time, you just have space. That is what Larson calls the space region. And those are small sub-regions within a larger region, 2 larger regions that Larson refers to as the material sector, or I would say sectors, material sector or the cosmic sector. And if you have exactly 1 unit of space in exactly 1 unit of time, you have the speed of light. Larson calls that unit speed. 1 over 1 equals 1. The speed of light is unit speed in Larson's system. It is the boundary between 2 different universes. It is the midpoint of the universe. Just in the same way that 1 is the midpoint of a reciprocal system. Okay, when you have a normal science, 0 is the center. So you have -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, or whatever, and in the middle of that is 0. And then plus, on the plus side, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is a balance between positive and negative with 0 at the center. But in a reciprocal system, it is multiplicative, not additive. And so the center is 1. And then on the positive side, you have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. But on the negative side, you have 1/2, 1/3, 1/4, 1/5, 1/6, and 1/7. It's not additive; it's multiplicative. Those numbers, each number is accompanied by its reciprocal. So 2 is matched by 1/2. 3 is matched by 1/3. If you multiply them together, they equal 1. So it's a multiplicative relationship, not an additive relationship. And in this discrete unit postulate, if you have 1 unit of space and 1 unit of time, that is the speed of light, unit speed or 1. And then on the, so half the universe is moving faster than the speed of light. This would be speeds of 2, 3, etc. And half the universe is moving slower than the speed of light. These would be speeds of 1/2, 1/3, etc. And that is what Larson calls the material sector. We're accustomed to that. That's where we have the 3 dimensions of space and clock time. But in the cosmic sector, we are not accustomed to those relations of faster than the speed of light. In fact, Einstein didn't even know about this because he said that the speed of light is the maximum speed of the universe. So there's a whole half of the universe that Einstein is not taking into account. But over there, you have greater than the speed of light, and you have 3-dimensional time, coordinate time, and you have progressing space, clock space. That's an unfamiliar universe to us. But because of the reciprocal relation, all you have to do to move from the material sector to the cosmic sector is to reverse the roles of space and time. So we can take the great deal of observation, data, and measurement and hypotheses that we have from the material sector, and we can apply them to the cosmic sector. We can extrapolate and apply them to the cosmic sector. Okay, now we are looking at Dr. Bruce Perret's article on Homo sapiens ethicus. And this is from his Hidden History of Homo sapiens series, anthropology series. This is number 3 out of his 4 articles, and we've gone over all 3 of them, and we'll be going over the 4th one after we get done with this one. We're almost at the end. This is kind of his conclusion, I believe. It's called Humanity, the Next Generation, Homo sapiens ethicus. And as you'll be able to see, Perret uses a lot of Larson's work as a foundation. Usually he refers to it, but he has a number of other subjects that he kind of draws upon to form his conclusions as well. Okay, Humanity, the Next Generation, Homo sapiens ethicus. We have right now an excellent opportunity to make this transition to peaceful explorers, courtesy of a single technological improvement that, curiously enough, was designed to make warfare more efficient: the World Wide Web, or Internet. For the first time since mankind was created, he has access to virtually all the knowledge on the planet at the push of a button. The Internet has done to the cabal what the printing press did to the churches. In the old days, the churches controlled what knowledge the general public had through its scribes. The printing press allowed anyone to publish to the public at little cost. The churches lost control of information, and the public became smarter. The Internet is doing the same thing with the cabal. No longer can they get away with false flags and corruption without it showing up on YouTube. Only knowledge will set you free. And, I don't completely agree with what he's saying there, but certainly the last point, um, they can no longer get away with false flags and corruption, is striking a chord with me. I think the cabal used to be able to do a false flag and get away with it for 5, 10, 20, 50 years before people started to get wise to it. Now they try to pull something like that off and within hours. They've got all kinds of citizens with cameras contradicting what they said and getting it up there on YouTube or BitChute or whatever platform, out to thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of other viewers, and so they have to be more on their P's and Q's, at least when they try to pull off these false flags and so on. Okay, now, and of course, I'm sure there are some of you listening that don't even think there is such a thing, but I would just advise you to do your research. Okay, now the next paragraph here. The historical path of evolution is summarized in the chart below, showing the paths of ancestry. Nobility can trace its origins back to the Anunnaki gods, whereas the peasant stock only has an indirect route to the gods, hence the necessity for an intercessor figure like the Blessed Virgin Mary, with its roots planted firmly in the LM stock of ancient Tiamat, or ancient Earth, before Earth was called Earth. So he's got, a little chart here, starting with both the SMs and the LMs, and they feed into respectively automatons and Neanderthals, and those both feed into Cro-Magnon man, which is our original blueprint. And then that feeds into, with the Neanderthal, to Homo sapiens, and with the Anunnaki it feeds into the Nephilim, or the giants. And so you end up with, on one hand you end up with the nobility, and on the other hand you end up with the peasants, and then the LMs just go straight to mythological races. The life units that define the noble body are primarily from genetic engineering, as an engineered species can be custom designed for specific tasks and duties. From rulership to tripping over ottomans, nobility desires genetically engineered life, as that is their path of evolution. The peasant body tends to be sturdier, having a natural evolutionary path via survival of the fittest from the Neanderthal stock. The peasants desire natural processes and tend to be organic in their desires, as it is their path of evolution. Our planet also contains a mix of the two lines of descent, so there is a full range of expression of life. So where is mankind going from here? Two choices are apparent, particularly if one looks at the goings on in the world about them. One, a reinforcement of the noble peasant system by genetically engineering the peasant stock to be more slave-friendly to the nobility. Thank the gods for Monsanto, literally. And two, an evolution of the peasants into an independent species, a species that is basically organic in nature, does not need nor desire bioengineering. Like its LM ancestors, works in rapport with the other life on the planet and elsewhere as peaceful explorers. Implementing of the first choice is simple enough. Just engineer the food that limits the body and regulates the soul to encourage the system of rivalry and obedience to get your good slaves. Also, reduce the population to manageable size, to go back to the good old days of a single plague to keep the peasants from revolting. Sound familiar? Dr. Perret was writing this about 10 years ago, I think. So he could see a little bit into the future about what was going to happen. Now, the second choice is where many people are heading. And if you are reading this paper, you are probably in this group seeking the evolution of the species. So how does one do this? Simple. Make the ethical choice. Work to develop your Shen bioenergy and become intelligent. Forget the distractions that plague the entertainment, so-called industry, and start learning new things. No one can do the work for you, so you will have to choose to become intelligent. The only thing that holds you back is societal programming, as it was designed to keep you the fool. Become the magician instead. Learn, teach, and advance yourself to the next stage of human evolution, that which Roger Damon Price referred to as the tomorrow people, Homo sapiens ethicus. And yes, I would just say that, most people listening to this might, truthers are thinking, yeah, these liberals out there or whatever, if they would recognize that the news that they're watching is straight propaganda, and they actually did their own research, they would figure these things out. But for some reason, what they don't, the truther community, what they don't understand is that they have to become intelligent too. They are under great amounts of propaganda, but not from the state, not from the media, but from the religions. And they need to choose to become, we all need to choose to become intelligent. Don't just read your holy book and think that it's telling you the truth. It's really, your holy book is not the Word of God. It is the word of some dude who wrote it. And, it's a mythology. It's got useful stuff in there, but it's not to be taken literally. And if you want to remain ignorant, you can continue to believe that. But you're not going to make any type of ethical advancement if you, and again, I will admit that these religious books, they are chock full of useful ethical information. But again, it's a stricture, and these things have to be taken on voluntarily, without the hell concept hanging over your head, or the Satan concept hanging over your head. You're not doing them because because of that. There's a principle behind all these things, and I believe that people need to take their own responsibility for their own ethical behavior. And again, I think that anybody who looks at these holy books and does their proper due diligence to research what these books are about and what their history is, they cannot come away with looking at it as being factual. Okay, now back to Dr. Perret. Door of opportunity. Have sign that say push to open. It never locked. And that is, I think, a Hawaiian, or no, this is a Chinese priest. Door of opportunity, have sign that say, push to open, it never locked. Okay, now we're getting to the epilogue. And that will be the end. It's about 4 paragraphs. As some final comments, I want to point out that you are not alone on this magnum opus, the great work to Homo sapiens ethicus. There are many, many people now getting to this stage, and there is some assistance on this path, not from more extraterrestrial aliens, but from right here on the planet, a little place that is the anima of the planet called Agartha. It is said, anima again is the soul. It is said to hold all the beauty of Aphrodite. And if you understood what I've said about life, the universe, and everything, then I don't need to tell you where it is located, as you will have already figured it out for yourself, which is what you are supposed to do the work yourself. The location of Agartha was chosen because it is inaccessible to the Titans, Anunnaki, and their noble descendants, due to the structure of their soul. As such, it made for an excellent rebel base for the natives of Tiamat, and as things developed, transformed into a center of culture and philosophy for all the life on the planet, including the ethical men that have figured it out over the centuries. But, as explained in the earlier sections of this paper, there is a policy of non-interference in terrestrial life. So they do not channel or send telepathic signals trying to influence people or any other life on this world. Free will is paramount in that you are free to choose your path, whatever path that may be. However, if you understand the process, then you'll know what counts as interference and non-interference. So learn what it is to be human and make use of the abilities that come with being human. Use your genetic heritage to advantage. There is a lot more to each and every person than they may realize. All that is needed is the opportunity for expression. Everything is based on conscious choices. So choose to be wise and seek the path that will improve life, not just for yourself, but for everyone you interact with. You will notice a change and an opportunity. Okay, that is the end of the third article here from Daniel Phoenix 3 on Homo sapiens ethicus. And so tomorrow we'll be starting up on the new article, which is I guess it's just called A New Hope. I thought it had a longer title, The Colonization of Tiamat. So this goes back to the history of the colonization of Earth and how human beings, Homo sapiens, came out of that whole affair. And, again, this is coming from probably a holy book that you haven't ever heard of or haven't delved into. Many people have, but most people have not. And it doesn't mean that you take it all as the word of God. It was written by fallible humans, maybe in an exalted state, maybe not. But you have to look at it with red-pilled perspectives. We can't just take in stuff uncritically just because we happen to like the message, or we reject it because we dislike the message. Just take it in and, let it marinate. Just taste it. You can spit it out if you find that it doesn't stand the test of time, but you have to give it some time, before you do that. So that's what we'll be starting tomorrow. And in the meantime, thanks for tuning in today, and have a great day.